We've come a long way since our preliminary task, from the mistake of leaving in background noise to not organising our locations very well. In the preliminary task, we did all of that and we didn't use Foley at all, yet when it came to our final piece, we were Foley masters. We could have reached our full potential within the preliminary task if we'd used a soundtrack. Soundtracks are useful because they set an atmosphere, and in shots such as this, a soundtrack would have been really important. We've cleverly used soundtracks and effects such as dripping to create an eerie and mysterious atmosphere within our final piece. So that means not only did we use a soundtrack, but we also used Foley. And other factors that contrast from our preliminary task to our final piece have helped us to progress through the course. For example, location and props.
Comparing our preliminary to our final thriller, the preliminary had many mistakes in it, which is to be expected seeing as it was our first project and experience with Final Cut and the camera as well. It was to be expected that we had many faults in our production, but in saying that, with the short amount of time we had to do it in, mistakes were going to be made, but they were mistakes that we could learn from. For instance, the match in action was broken as soon as our actor, he walks in without a suitcase and then sits down next to a suitcase that miraculously appears in the next shot, which obviously broke continuity and match in action as well. But now, when we filmed our thriller, we ensured that we followed match in action and everything was in the same place as it was from the last shot to the new shot. So I think we sort of conquered that and made sure we did it right this time. An example of match in action in our thriller is when our actress is walking away from the body, but it is following on from the clip before, but the body's still in the same place and the scene just flows when she walks away. It just, no continuity errors there, match in action, so we was quite proud of that. In the preliminary, we had a shot of her shot, which is part of our brief. We had to do an investigation scene based on the script we were given. We could change the script to however we wanted to write it, but it had to have the conversation in it. So the shot of their shot worked quite well, except we broke the 180-degree rule. One actor was shot on one side, and then the next it's flipped, and it just didn't work. It let it down quite a lot in the preliminary, but in the final project, our undercover, we did pretty well. We didn't use a shot of her shot per se because there was no conversation, there was no need for a shot of her shot, but I think, if we had used one, we would have used it quite well. In our final project, I did the editing, and compared to the preliminary, it was so much more advanced, because in the preliminary all we did was change the colour from however it was when it started out when we filmed it to black and white. So obviously that's very simple to do. You just get the saturation and put it straight down until it's dark enough but you can still see what's happening. However, in our thriller, I used colour correction properly. I literally watched YouTube tutorials, learned how to do it, and made sure that our clips looked professional, not too dark, not too bright, that the light bouncing off mirrors and everything wasn't affecting the scene, and that the lighting was in the right place, and if there was mistakes I could correct it with the colour correction. For instance, there's one scene where the lighting is very bright and makes the room look very sort of pale, and the actress's face looks very pale with it. So compared to the next scene, which was quite a lot darker, I literally made the lighter scene darker to match the following one, so it flowed all the way through. One clip wasn't just light and then one dark. It was okay, it was fine. We sorted that out. In the preliminary, it was just simple editing. There was no overlays on it. But when it came to doing the final, I ensured that I tried out overlays, learned how to do it. Once again, YouTube tutorials really helped me out, and it really refined the details of the thriller. I think back when we did the preliminary, it would have been really hard to learn how to do overlay because we were so new to Final Cut Pro, and it just would have confused me a lot. But now I think we really did well with the overlays and making them not too bright or dark, and they fit really well, and I think it really helped our thriller to look its best. Another thing in the preliminaries was jump cuts. When we edited it, obviously being new to editing, there were so many jump cuts in it where we'd filmed one scene, moved around, broke continuity, 180-degree rule, and jump cuts. At the time, the razor cut tool on Final Cut Pro to shorten a clip, we were very friendly with. So where we cut it down, we cut the clip down too far, and it cut out part of the action and just jumped to the next clip, and it didn't flow. There was no matching action there. But in the final project, Undercover, we implemented the smoothness of the clips put together and made sure that there was no jump cuts, which made it run so smoothly, and we had the clips all through, and now our final just flows so well, and the suspense is not interrupted by jump cuts. So I think if we were to go back to the preliminary, I'd personally use more YouTube tutorials on how to use Final Cut Pro and I'd be a lot more confident with it. So overall, I think our final compared to the preliminary is so much more improved, and we really learnt a lot during our practicing of editing, and I think that we've implemented the mistakes, we've corrected them in our final. So the preliminary was very useful to do, as we learnt we need to plan stuff out and make sure that everything is planned to an extent where there is room for improvement, but we've done the best we can and we've learnt from our mistakes.